student who dabbles in a sport is going to be a champion. Not every boy or girl is eventually going to lead his or her national team in the sport they love. But there's so much else that they can do around the game that they want to play, the game that they enjoy watching, and a game they want to be associated with. Is it about time that we look at all the options that young India can have on the table if we let them as far as sports are concerned? Well, a special panel with me now. In fact, it's a very special panel. One of the world's greatest cricketers, Adam Gilchrist. What an honor to have him. He's here, of course, also as Australia's new education ambassador to India. Adam, thanks so much for taking our time to be here. R.K. Srinivasan, Vice President Production 10 Sports, is with us, as is Rekha De, Indian Director, Sports Education Development Australia. Thanks again for being with us. Adam, first to you. There's so much that Australia and India have in common. There's cricket, there's food, there's Bollywood, and the list sort of goes on and on. There's also education. Both countries sort of looking at this one area, the need to skill its population. Australia, of course, also opening its shores up to foreign students to come in and learn with the very best. How do you believe that there can be a synergy as far as education is concerned between the two countries?
I think it's a definite synergy there. I think Prime Minister Modi, very early in his prime ministership, put a glaring focus on education and knowledge, about knowledge being a vital component as you move into the future. If you want, any country wants to be sustainable, engaged in the global sort of debate and moving ahead, they need a lot of knowledge. And I see Australia as a highly qualified knowledge provider. We have great qualifications and skills and education providers that we would love. We don't come here saying we're the experts, but we have areas of expertise that we feel we can share, and also receive in kind, reciprocal knowledge coming back from India to Australia.
We're a nation that sort of loves our sport, especially cricket. There's just no parallel when we talk about cricket. But that you will meet generations of youngsters who will sort of say that I couldn't pursue sport because my parents sort of felt that, what are you going to do? You're not going to be the next Tendulkar, you're not going to be the next Ganguly. And it sort of ended there. So there have been sort of many dreams broken. What would you say that we in India need to do to sort of stop repeating those mistakes over and over again?
Yeah, it's a really good point, and it's a shame, because I think the amount of talent, and let's face it, India has a huge amount of cricketing talent, but the amount of talent that must have gone by the wayside just because someone gave them the wrong advice to pull out of the game. You're not going to be the next Virat or the next Sachin. So they lose faith in their ability, or just lose faith in the enjoyment of sport. I mean, my colleagues and I, from my cricketing eras, we just played cricket because we loved it. We played sport because you loved it. You loved being in a team environment, and then if you happen to get selected in a team, great. And if you got picked in another team, but that's the foundation of why you played sport. And people, the youth of today, to look at it, not about you have to be the elite. There's so many other job opportunities, professional opportunities in the sports industry that you can pursue. Sports management, sports broadcasting. So journalism comes under there. The medical side of it, the allied healths, event management. Every event needs a lot to go into it. So to see Virat Kohli walk out and play a game of cricket for India, the infrastructure around that is limitless. And India don't need to be outsourcing that and bringing that in from overseas. The people and the skills and the quality of talent here, it's all here, and it's all ahead.
Rekha, that's an important point. As someone who's involved in skilling all these people, the point that Adam makes, you don't need this great support that you need for your big names, your big stars, your heroes, your champions, as it were. It doesn't need necessarily to be imported. You can have that here, you can get that talent here, you can hone those skills here. But we don't have that worldview yet, do we?
We don't have that view, but I think we are proceeding towards it. A whole lot of perspective is changing. I can give you the example of my own startup, which I started 1 year ago. And we are essentially not into creating champions. We are not into training elite sports people. No offenses, Adam, sorry. but
there are enough people doing that anyway, right?
So that's good. That's not what we want to do, really. So we want to spread out to the larger space where we see the industry growing, where we see lots and lots of entrepreneurs coming in. We are working with the Sector Skill Council for Sports, which you'll be happy to know that it's been formed just this year. And we are developing standards standards for 55 occupations which can work out in the sports industry, and there are identified huge number of jobs which are existing.
For the benefit of all those who are watching, can you just identify 2 or 3 of sort of those opportunities that you're talking about for me?
Caddy, for example. There is a huge scope of caddies to be employed. We have the Himalayas with us. We have lots of mountain ranges and the beach and the coastal line with us. We have scope for lifeguard training. We have scope for surfing instructors. We have scope for skiing instructors, trekking guide, outdoor camp manager. There are at least some 30 to 40 just existing only in the adventure sports segment. When you go on to coaching, that goes to 67 nationalized federations. I don't have the exact number right now. It's around 60 or 67. And then you have another list of indigenous sports. You have Kalyaripattu to Balakham to Pittor to Gulli Danda in India. So there's a list of indigenous sports which could be ranging between anything between 300 to 400.
Fair enough. I see your point there. And all those options that you've mentioned, really, I mean, this is terrific ones. There's a sort of a minefield there, gold mine there waiting to be explored. But R.K. Srinivasan, we're still a country which sort of goes after academics, almost sort of one would say, with blinkers on. One of the first questions you're asked is, how many marks did you get? Very rarely are you told, how many medals have you won? Which game do you enjoy? Conversation openers are usually, how many marks did you get? Which college do you want to go to? And traditional streams like engineering, medicine, management, you've got 2 of those sort of locked away firmly on your CV, but this is what we are still hankering after.
Yes, to a certain extent, yes. I mean, just to pick up on what Adam was talking about, and she was also talking about, I think there's been a fundamental shift in the way the parents have started looking at their kids. I mean, for example, my parents could not afford a luxury of a Grey Nichols bat, for example. I mean, you could get a bat for yourself, but you cannot go beyond a certain level because their economic shortfall meant that they can provide you with education, because that seemingly is fundamental. So they did very well to provide somebody with education,
and they also
which
tend
will
to
take
believe
care.
that it's a better fallback.
Exactly, it's always
a better fallback. You'll always be able
fallback.
to get a job. You'll always be able to sort of survive. You will, you'll earn something.
In a way, what education does to you, obviously, is to give you a freedom of thought. So by the time you finish your post-graduation, because in India you generally tend to develop kids, or at least when we were growing up, in terms of keeping in mind their own future, whether they can sustain themselves, they can be on their own. So, but once you grow up, then you start beginning to think for yourself, as opposed to the current generation, where the parents are economically more reliant. I mean, they've got more money to probably spare, and therefore they are willing to consider the aspirational level of their own kids. And therefore, when you look at kids outside, you look at kids enjoying football, right? I mean, they're following the likes of Ronaldo, they love their Rooneys, they love their Messis, they wear the Barcelona t-shirts, they are up late watching the Champions League and whatnot. So television has brought that influx as well, in terms of they're looking also beyond cricket. I mean, we all grew up watching just one sport in India, pretty much. Now you're looking beyond it and saying, hang on a minute, why not we watch football? Okay, Olympics. I mean, India has started winning medals and consistently
Tennis,
at that.
badminton, I guess. So as we get those few role models here and there, boxing, shooting, and all of that.
Absolutely. Kabaddi, yes, of course.
Of course. Adam, there are all those, who would say that when we look at the education scenario in India, there's sort of been a lot of hand-wringing and chest-beating over where we are, where are we going, and it's sort of become a very profitable business also in India today. So if you drive out of Delhi to a small town here called Meerut, you'll see MIT 1 and MIT 2, and they're all Meerut Institute of Technology 1, 2, and 3. So that's also a problem that we are dealing with. In the midst of all this, there is a young India that's sort of hungry to learn and eager to change, who are perhaps being deprived of these opportunities. That's going to be our other big challenge, isn't it?
It is, certainly. And I guess just yesterday it was brought to my attention, culturally there's an interesting changing time, I guess, of new India, and you say young India coming through. It seems there's a change coming of acceptance and taking it back to the sports industry. I guess have no doubt about the understanding that the top players have. Certainly I know from my experience as an elite sportsman, the gratitude that you have of every level of sport, of cricket, right down to the volunteers that used to set the ground up at the under-10s, through to the sports administrator that runs the local cricket, to the head of Cricket Australia. without all those stepping stones or all those layers, I'm not achieving what I wanted to achieve and living the life I live. So the top players are so appreciative of all the skill levels all the way through.
Right.
So I guess if there's a message, please, to the youth of today or families, don't underestimate the importance of those roles. But going back to the point, the opportunity for education is broadening. I think that's a key, and I think I detect from Prime Minister Modi's statements that's what we've got to do. We can talk about the virtues of education, but we've got to make it accessible, and be it tertiary, higher ed, or vet training, whatever it is, we've got to make these opportunities available to more and more people, and don't have it a certain sector, elite level, can only attain those highly credentialed courses. We want to make it accessible to as many people as possible, because clearly, whether it's sport or other areas of skill development, nations are going to be better off for it, because the social capital that you gain out of not so much elite level sport, but just community engagement and community level sport, the spillover effect, it's been proven, research shows that people that are active and healthy and communities that have organised sport are happier places, they're more productive places. So there's so much upside from it.
Right.
Can I
add
something to what he said
quickly,
just now?
because
we experimented this with Century University of Technology and Management, and that's the place where we started with an elective course. Look, the change process is a long one, so you have to introduce capsules and then get into it. So we launched a course in sports and events management and into fitness. There is lots of jobs in gyms, etc. And you won't believe there are engineering graduates who have come back and told that our heart really lies in this sector. We are studying engineering because we were told to study, but can you help us find a job? Right. And they earn 4 credits.
That's the shift, I think, that we're talking about here.
And the management is changing their curriculum pattern. So 4 credits are allotted to the students who have elected for this course, and it's not an extracurricular. So we have to get out of this frame of this extracurricular and putting sports
which
and
is always
bucketing
considered
into
an extra.
Yes.
It's an aside. It's somewhere there.
After you've finished your studies, if you find time,
then
you do extracurricular.
Right.
I think we need to shift to something called co-curricular. That's the first step, and then a part of the curriculum. So then you're integrating it slowly. I mean, if you go to a parent and say, forget about everything, let's play sport, it's going to be difficult.
It is still going to be difficult, right?
So from an extracurricular to a co-curricular sounds more together to the curriculum, which is inclusive. Then we are achieving what we intended to achieve.
Right, and I saw you sort of nodding wholeheartedly in agreement when Rekha made the point of these engineers wanting to come back, and that's your experience as well. How did that shift work? Was there a lot of, because India is a country where we have these, I guess, endless dining table conversations on, where do you want to go, what's your future, and mealtime conversations are all around, what you're going to do. So did you have to go, was there convincing involved? Because you were making the point earlier that, these are mainstream courses and we sort of tend to want our young to focus on them.
Yeah, it's about getting a bit of a perspective really as to what angle you're looking at things from. I mean, when you're looking at it from your parents' angle, they've got a point there because they believe that at that point in time, these are the courses that will allow you to sustain going forward. Fair enough from that point of view.
Yes.
From my point of view, it's about playing sport. I mean, I love, as Adam rightly said, every kid loves playing sport.
So how did you convince them?
But I never convinced.
That's what my viewers will want to know. What did you say to them?
I never convinced them. It was fairly simple. I did my physics. I did my management, which allowed me a corporate job.
I see.
At that point in time, I realized, okay, there's a reasonable amount of bank balance for me not to rely on my parents. Therefore, I can open my mind up to the world. And therefore, I forayed into the world of journalism. I literally went from one company to another asking for a job. Quite literally.
Well, yeah. I think it's coming down to, we talk about education and perhaps, and it's going to take time, but educating our parents, educating past generations or the generations prior, that there's now choice. And it's not just, I choose to play cricket because I love cricket or kabaddi or whatever. There's choice, so many options to choose from within the, again, using the sports analogy, but within that sector and whatever other sectors, there's so many more choices now. That is the new world. And, that's the main thing, is convincing the previous generations that it has changed a bit. We're not going against what you're saying. We're not sort of riding off recklessly into the wind. We're making considered, well thought out choices,
Well
that there's a
thought out
career
Vinky,
path
right,
there,
right.
and it happens to be something that I love to and have a passion for.
Right.
So I'm going to be more productive anyway because I'm
Right.
interested.
Right.